Hey everyone. So I have a little bit more of a rant video today. The 1017 hotfix just dropped, as you probably already know, and there are thousands of comments in the Reddit thread with people voicing their displeasure about some of the nerfs to the legendary weapons. And we got some corresponding buffs as well to other guns and to pets, which is kind of nice, but I want to go over sort of why I think that nerfing the best guns in the game isn't the path to good weapon balancing, and why I think it's only going to lead to bad faith in the community. But I want to bracket a couple of concessions right off the bat here. The first is that build variety is a very good thing. So Gearbox's overall goal of making multiple weapons viable later in the game, I think is applaudable, but I don't think that nerfing the guns is the way to do that. And I do think that having a few guns that are better than others is not necessarily a bad thing, because it gives you something to grind for, but I'll get more into that later on. And my second concession is that there is a point, I believe, where a gun, a character, or a skill can be too powerful even in a PvE game. And that's mainly because Borderlands 3 has a co-op component. Because if you're in a game and there's a flak that's just insta-killing the boss in your proving ground, or you have a Moze just deleting every single mob around you, it's just not fun to play. Like, you don't feel like your character's doing anything. You might feel like you have to respec your character, change characters because maybe you picked the wrong one, because it's just clearly much worse than all the other characters in the game. I do think there is a point where nerf is the right option. However, this is kind of going into the rant here, I don't think we're at the point where these guns are game breaking or overpowered, and I think the nerfs aren't really coming because they're too powerful, but because they're more powerful than other guns. And at that point, I think that the right course of action would be to make those other guns that aren't as powerful more powerful, so that you're not doing bad faith to the community. Because here's the problem: you spend hundreds of hours trying to farm for these weapons, and you might get the Leuta. You might get the Leuta in multiple different elements. You might get the Butcher finally, like some of the guns that were nerfed. And then these patches come out, and your gun just isn't as viable anymore. And it's not really a question of if the gun is usable or not. It's just that you know that all of your hard work is kind of getting like spit on by Gearbox, because they want your gun to not be quite as powerful, even though the gun might not be overpowered to begin with. Because some of the data they're looking at here, I mean, I'm sure they're looking at YouTube videos of Graveboard getting killed very quickly. That's never going to change. He's almost designed to be killed pretty quickly. But they're seeing that a lot of people are only going to use the Leuta a lot of the time against bosses, and that's why they want to try to stress the build variety. But I think that argument is separate to a gun being overpowered. Because you could have a gun that's way too powerful, or you could just have a gun that's the most powerful that people are going to go towards. But even at its best right now, the Leuta, which I will tout as probably the best gun in the game, is only good in niche situations. When it's like, and that's even without any modifiers. So it's good against bosses that are pretty stationary, and that's pretty much it. It's a boss burner. I don't think there's a problem that a gun is a boss burner. It's totally useless in proving grounds, totally useless in Circle of Slaughter, and with certain modifiers, it's totally useless against Graveboard. So it's kind of another thing. I think the balance changes right now as we see them. The idea of nerfing these powerful guns because people are using them a lot for the purpose of build variety and diversity kind of flies in the face of the Mayhem mode, which already is supposed to do that baked into the game. So with Mayhem modifiers, you'll have damage reduction, elemental reduction, boosts for the enemies, and it's all designed to make your OP gun either feel even more powerful as part of the power fantasy, or to not feel very powerful at all. And then you know what you do? You switch your weapons. So right now, even before this patch, I ran with the Leuta, I had a Crossroad, I had a Butcher, so you can probably see why I'm so bitter about this, and I had the Engulfing Shreddifier, but I would always keep different variants of each of the guns. I would keep different types of guns in my inventory just in case, and I found very frequently, even as Flak crit build, which does the most gun damage in the entire game, I was still switching out my guns very frequently and wasn't using the Leuta nearly as much as I thought I would. Basically not even using it in the proving grounds, because it's such a niche weapon. So that's why I just really think that these changes don't jibe well with how the game is set up because of Mayhem mode. Like, they've already sort of accommodated for build diversity, and the changes in of themselves aren't that significant, but all they do, while not really changing the game significantly, they just cause bad faith with the community and cause players to feel bitter or resentful that their guns that they've worked for hours for, or hundreds of hours for, are no longer as powerful as they used to. And that affects the game. It makes the game feel less fun, makes the combat feel less fun, even if it's not a significant change, and it just makes the game feel less fun for a lot of people. So I think we're going to see a lot of people leaving the game. I see a lot of backlash from this, thousands of people saying that they don't even want to play the game anymore. or that at least giving negative feedback to the patch notes, but it really just doesn't seem like Gearbox is listening to that, and it seems like they're going to continue to nerf things going forward. So hopefully that changes. I just want to give you my 2 cents on what I thought of the update and what I thought of some of the people's reactions, and hopefully Gearbox can make some changes going forward. But let me know like what you think. I know some people disagree with me, but do you like the balance changes? Do you think nerfing the guns is the right way to go? And what would you do to change it if you don't? But thank you guys. I'll see you in the next video.